Hello everyone, it's Jad aka Snow, the rogue behind classicroguecraft.com, and today we're going to go over the AQ Phase 5 talent specs for sword and dagger rogues. So we'll cover what you should be running to maximize your Phase 5 DPS and where you should move your current talent points. As always, this video is brought to you by you guys. Twitch subscribers get a bonus rogue video tutorial every week in an extra channel of my Discord. And this week's video is all about AQ40 and what's working right now for rogues in early testing. So if you want to get yourself some bonus guides and help support Classic Roguecraft at the same time, you can head over to twitch.tv/snomie and hit that subscribe button. I stream regularly and subbing helps support everything I do on YouTube and my website. Alright, so let's get into the guide. So again, if you need this, I have this guide linked below. You can check it out if you want the text version of this, but I'm just going to run you through the basics of the guide now. So firstly, for dagger talents, you want to go 15, 31, 5. This is very standard for dagger specs right now. So this means 15 assassination, 31 combat, and 5 points in subtlety. Now inside these talent trees you have 7 filler points in the combat tree and 2 filler points in the assassination tree. And what I mean by filler points is they kind of pick your own adventure, it's personal preference where you want to put these points, but they have to be there somewhere in order to move down the talent tree. So it's kind of up to you where you want to put these points. But I'll give you some rough suggestions now. So for your first filler points in the combat tree, you have improved gouge versus lightning reflexes. Now, I tend to go improved gouge because it's very beneficial if you play PvE spec outside of raids a lot. So if you're just outside farming, you're occasionally wanting to PvP, you're occasionally wanting to gouge a mob and bandage. It has a lot of utility outside of raiding. In raiding it's not so useful, but outside of raiding it tends to come in handy every now and then. Now, if you don't care about the utility of improved gouge outside of raiding, then you would go lightning reflexes instead. So lightning reflexes is a very good choice if you don't care about improved gouge, basically. So it will give you the best overall benefit for raiding because it adds a tiny bit of survivability. I know 3% dodge isn't massive, but it is something to add on if you don't care about getting improved gouge. Now your next choice is going to be endurance versus improved sprint versus aggression. So really here you can only pick 2 out of these 3 sets of talents. You don't have enough points to spare here. So what most people tend to pick is they'll pick either endurance or improved sprint here. So they'll pick one of these 2 and then they'll pick aggression, or they'll pick both endurance and improved sprint for full utility and not bother about aggression. Alright, so to make it brief, endurance basically, you can see here, it reduces the cooldown of your sprint and evasion abilities, which can be useful if you like to always have your sprint and evasion up. Personally, I like it just because I always like to have evasion available, just as an oh no moment, you know, just in case something horrible happens. Improved sprint is kind of, sometimes you find that you don't use it at all, to be fair, in some raids, because it's more something that I like for outside of raiding, because I tend to play a lot PvE spec outside of raiding as well, and sometimes it just comes really in handy for just breaking roots and snares in PvP. Sometimes I'm farming mobs that snare you. It just has a lot of utility outside of the raids. Now aggression is what you go if you just don't care about utility, you want the absolute min-max highest DPS option, you're going to pick aggression. So you're going to put 2 points in aggression as one of your options here. And it doesn't really do a massive amount, to be honest, because as a dagger rogue, you're not really going to eviscerate that much. Typically, you only get to eviscerate when you pop adrenaline rush, for example, in certain circumstances. So it's something that where the bonus is going to come in handy very minimally and only in certain positions in certain situations. So it's totally up to you where you want to go here. I tend to like going the full utility and going endurance and improved sprint. Some people like to take aggression. It is totally up to you where you want to go here. Now I didn't mention improved kick. It is technically one of the options. It's a very rare option. I didn't include it here because it's so rare to actually want to pick improved kick as one of the options for your combat, but you technically could if you wanted to give up something else to take it. Improved kick just makes your kick silence not super useful in PvE, and usually outside of PvE raids you would want one of the other talents anyway, like endurance or improved sprint. So it's up to you, but I did not include improved kick in the options. Now, as far as your assassination talents, you basically have 2 points free here to kind of pick where you want to put them. So in those 2 points, you can pick 2 points in ruthlessness, you can put 2 points in murder, or you can put 2 points improve eviscerate. Now, murder is pretty much out the window. You don't want to put it if you're trying to min-max for AQ, because AQ mobs are unclassified, meaning it just doesn't work in AQ. So you can take this talent if you want. If you still want to pass in Blackwing Lair, for example, it can come in handy. But if you're talking about min-maxing for AQ specifically, it doesn't really come in handy because it doesn't work on the AQ mobs. Now, ruthlessness tends to be what most Dagger rogues will pick. 2 out of 3 ruthlessness here, because basically just because the other options aren't that great. Speaking of which, your other option is improved eviscerate. So improved eviscerate does exactly what it says, improves the damage of your eviscerate. But if you're a Dagger rogue, you know that again you don't eviscerate very often, so it's not super handy. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal which one you pick between improved eviscerate or ruthlessness. You can pick whichever one you want, but most Dagger rogues are probably going to go with ruthlessness. Okay, so let's have a quick look over the talent tree now. So obviously you've got your 5 in subtlety here, in opportunity. Then you've got your 2 in sinister strike here, because you still will once in a while want a sinister strike, right? So it's good to have that talent. Here I picked one of the optional talents, which is improved gouge. Improved backstab is non-negotiable. You've got your 5% hit here. You've got your dual wield spec. You've got 2 utilities. So with this particular spec, I just happened to pick utility. So you've got improved endurance, and then you've got the improved sprint. And then you just take Dagger spec, of course, because it's 5% crit. You take your blade flurry, you take your weapon expertise, and then you take your adrenaline rush. So that's all pretty straightforward there. And here we take malice into 4 points of lethality. You pretty much always want to take improved slice and dice, by the way. Never ever take points out improved slice and dice as a Dagger rogue. It's too important. It is so important to have this talent. Then we have the 2 optional points here in ruthlessness, and then the 1 point in relentless strikes. So this is your kind of one of the cookie cutter options. Again, you can move around the filler points as you wish, but this is kind of an example that I'll give to you guys for Dagger rogues. Okay, so now let's talk sword or fist talent spec. So this is non-human first, because humans makes one change to the talent specs, but we'll cover non-humans first. So typically non-humans will go 19, 32, 0, which means 19 points assassination, 32 points combat, and 0 points subtlety. So we are talking about sword spec now, but if you want to go fist spec, you pretty much just go through everything that I'm about to explain, but you just take the 5 sword spec talents and swap them over to fist weapon spec. So nothing complicated there. Okay, now for swords, you have a slightly bigger range of talents where you're going to play around with in the combat tree in particular. You have 8 filler points in the combat tree that you need to be assigned, and then 2 in the assassination tree. So here are your common choices for the combat tree filler options. So you have improved gouge again. So again, very beneficial outside of PvE raids, but not super helpful inside the raid, so up to you whether you want to get this. We have lightning reflexes again, so 3% dodge. We have improved backstab, so most of you guys were using this for Veil in Blackwing Lair. If you do not care about Veil anymore, you don't care about your Blackwing Lair pass and Veil, you can drop this. You're not going to use this anymore. But if you still want to pass and Veil, you can keep it. It doesn't really hurt your DPS or anything in particular, so it's up to you if you want to keep your 3 points in improved backstab or not. Now below we have endurance again. So endurance is if you want to prioritize getting that sprint and evasion up as often as possible. Improved sprint is again utility. Usually outside of raids you're going to find more utility from this. It's not super helpful in a lot of raids, but outside of raids, if you play combat outside of raids, it can be very useful. Now deflection, typically most rogues, if they take deflection, they're just putting 1 point in deflection because they might have a combination of choices from above that needs them to spend 1 more talent point to move further down the talent tree, so they just kind of throw it into deflection, which isn't a bad choice for 1% parry. Now for your assassination tree filler talents, you basically have 2 points that you're going to move around. So right now in phase 4, a lot of sword rogues are running murder, but again, murder not useful in AQ because the mobs aren't classified. So a lot of people are going to take those 2 points out of murder and put them into something else. Now what you want to put them into, you can put it into improve eviscerate. This is generally what I would recommend because it's overall the best DPS increase for the majority of possible sword spec weapon combinations and situations. Now your other options are improved poisons and vow poisons. So these are more choices that only open up if you're alliance because you're using 2 poisons on alliance instead of wind fury. Now in most cases, I actually found improved eviscerate beat improved poisons and vow poisons. So whichever of the 2 poison talents you picked, I found that improved eviscerate typically beat them. But out of the 2 poison options, I found that improved poisons tend to beat vow poisons most of the time. So if you want to go poison spec, you can go improved poisons. Now I did find one situation where it did sometimes beat improve eviscerate, and that was if you are alliance with 2 poisons and you have a fast offhand. So in some rare situations with a really fast offhand, I did see improved poisons just barely beating out improved eviscerate. So in those cases, if you have a fast offhand, it's worth looking at. Now if you're not sure whether you want to go this or not, I would recommend you sim it. If you don't want to sim it, just go improve eviscerate. It's in general, it's kind of like the gold standard. It's going to be good no matter what, even if it's like 1 DPS less than improved poisons. But in general, it's the most effective option here for your 2 talent points. Okay, now as far as your standard combat spec here for swords, I will just run you through it really quickly. So this is just an example. Again, the filler points you can move wherever you want, but this example I put 3 points in the lightning reflexes, 2 in sinister strike, of course. We have 1 point in parry, we've got 5 in hit, we've got 5 in dual wield spec. We've got utility here with 2 in endurance, 2 in improved sprint, and then we've got our talents for sword spec, of course. 3R3 aggression, which is actually pretty useful as a sword rogue. We have blade flurry, 2 out of 2 weapon expertise, and adrenaline rush here. Now for the assassination talents, so we've chosen improved eviscerate here for optional 2 points. Then we've gone 5R5 malice into 5R5 lethality. 3R3 slice and dice, of course, is a no-brainer. And you've got your 3R3 ruthlessness and 1 out of 1 relentless strikes. So this is a fairly standard option that a lot of sword rogues can pick. Again, if you want to change the filler points, you can. I'm just giving you an example of a talent spec here. Now let's talk humans. So humans have a kind of unique situation in that you can go 20-31. So you can move 1 point from your combat tree over to your assassination tree. And this is because humans get 1 extra talent point to use because they have the human sword racial skill, which increases their sword skill and mace skill as well, actually. But this basically just means you only need 1 point in weapon expertise talent, which frees up 1 point to kind of move wherever you want. So what I recommend is you put that extra point into either improved eviscerate or improved poisons, depending on whichever one you picked. So for example, here you can see instead of 2R3 improved eviscerate, I went 3R3 improved eviscerate here, and that was after taking 1 point out of weapon expertise. Alright, so humans just have this one option here to play around with this 1 extra point as you wish. Now there was one edge case that I did find with Fayenzi, and that is if for some reason your guild just doesn't have any dagger rogues who need, or tanks, or anyone else that wants to take a death sting, basically, you can actually give the death sting to a sword rogue, and if you're somehow the lucky sword rogue to end up with a death sting in your offhand and you're human, you can actually move that 1 point back out of improved eviscerate back into weapon expertise, and that will be a DPS increase because it will improve the glancing blows penalty that you're suffering from death sting. So yeah, that's just another random option you can do. That's going to be super rare though. I don't expect many sword rogues to ever see a death sting, but yeah, if for some reason a sword rogue human ends up with a death sting, you can do that modification here. But yeah, this is basically your standard sword spec again, with just a 1 point in weapon expertise moved over to assassination tree. Okay, so I hope that kind of breaks down the changes that are coming up for AQ5. Okay, so I hope that kind of breaks down the AQ talent specs for Sword and Dagger Rogues. I hope this video helped you out, and if it helped you out, make sure you leave a like, leave a subscription. Again, this does help the YouTube algorithm to recommend this video to more rogues who can use this information. And thank you guys for the support as always. Again, if you have any questions or you just want to say hi, you can come over to the Discord or to stream. I stream regularly at twitch.tv/snomie.